entry or exit of one type of ions in the cell. Now, another very common type of receptors are the enzyme linked or the G protein coupled receptors. In this case, when the hormone binds to the receptor, it causes the activation of many enzymes in the cell which exert the effect of the hormone. We also have gene-linked hormone receptors where binding of the hormone to its receptor in the nucleus causes activation or deactivation of a transcription factor of a gene in DNA. Example of this is the steroid hormones, which increase the transcription of genes which are responsible for increased protein synthesis in the cell. So first of all, we will take a look at the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is located immediately below the larynx and it is one of the largest of all endocrine glands, weighing about 15 to 20 grams. The thyroid gland secretes two important hormones, the T4, the thyroxine, and the T3 or the triiodothyronine. 93% of all the secretion of the thyroid gland is the T4 and only 7% of the secretion is T3. Thyroid hormones require iodine for their synthesis in a dose of 1 mg per week. These hormones are protein hormones that bind to their receptors, which are mostly located in the nucleus or the cytoplasm of the cell. After that, the thyroid hormones have hundreds of effects on cells, like increase in the number of mitochondria of the cell, increase in the carbohydrate and fat metabolism, and increased activity of the various ion channels of the cell membrane. It has many systemic effects like increased cardiac output, increased heart rate, and increased CNS activity. In short, we can say that the thyroid hormones are important in a way that they regulate the basic cell metabolism and activity, which ultimately affects the body as a whole. Now, the second gland that we will talk about is the parathyroid gland. It is called parathyroid gland because it is located just adjacent to the thyroid gland or behind it. We have 4 parathyroid glands, one behind each of the upper and lower poles of thyroid. The parathyroid gland has a vital function of regulation of a constant concentration of calcium and phosphate in the body. It does so by releasing a hormone known as parathormone, which mainly acts on bone, intestines, and kidneys. Through the intestines, it regulates how much of the calcium should be absorbed in the body. Through the kidneys, it can regulate how much should be excreted, and since bones are a large reservoir of calcium and phosphate, it can use that to increase or decrease the calcium and phosphate concentration of the blood. The next endocrine organ that we will briefly discuss are the adrenals. Now, these glands are called adrenals because they are present just adjacent to the kidneys, sometimes also known as the suprarenals since they are located above the kidneys. Now, if we take a look at the cut section of the adrenal glands, we can see that it is made up of different sections. On the outer side, we have the adrenal cortex, and at the central part known as the adrenal medulla, and both of these parts secrete different types of hormones. Now, the adrenal cortex has 3 layers or zones, which are zona glomerulosa, which is the outermost layer. We have the zona fasciculata, which is in the middle, and then in the inner side we have the zona reticularis. These layers secrete different hormones, and these can be remembered by a simple mnemonic, the GFR, which stands for these layers. Now, the outermost layer, the zona glomerulosa, produces the hormone aldosterone, which is a mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone mainly acts on the kidneys to maintain a constant level of sodium, potassium, and other ions as well as fluid balance of the body. The zona fasciculata, the middle layer of the adrenal cortex, mainly synthesizes cortisol, which is a glucocorticoid. Cortisol is essential for life as it has permissive actions on multiple organ systems as well as metabolic processes throughout the body. Now, cortisol is essential for your body to have a proper stress response. It is essential for your body to have a proper metabolism of glucose, fat, as well as proteins. It is essential for important normal BP regulation and normal immune system regulation. Now, the innermost layer is the zona reticularis, which secretes androgenic hormones like the dihydroepiandrosterone, which are important for the development of secondary sexual characters. Now, the inner side we have the adrenal medulla, which can be considered as a part of sympathetic nervous system. It releases the catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine into the general circulation. It is activated when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, and it is essential for the classic flight or fight response of the body.